Today has by far been one of the craziest days we've seen in terms of flushes. Now, what that basically means is that the crypto market is falling down quite significantly today. And I mean, just taking a look at it, literally, I think every single coin except for Move, which you guys can't perfectly see, but that's literally the only coin and one, Leo, let's just skip that one. Let's just say that the entire market basically is falling right now by roughly 20%. I'm gonna be honest with you and say that this has been a little bit of a long time coming. You obviously need some flushes here and there, and right now it's hit Bitcoin, as we've been warning about for a little while. I will not claim to know that it was going to happen exactly today or yesterday or in 3 days from now or in 2 weeks from now. All we knew was that once we hit 100,000, matter of fact, once we hit above 100,000, that some flush of sorts had to happen, just like what we talked about back in, let me quickly show you, May of 2021. But that was so much worse than whatever we've seen right here, right? This candle right here, this, oh my days, guys. A lot of these coins were down 45%, 80%. It was just awful. That was scary. That was ridiculous. What we're seeing right now is bad. Sure, you might not be liking it. I understand. But generally, we're not really down that much. If you saw Bitcoin at like $82,000 today, minus 20 whatever percent, I understood where you guys were coming from. We hit 100,000 today. We hit like 93, maybe something like that. Let's just quickly check. Over throughout the day, we hit the, let's just quickly see the day. So as it actually currently stands, we are still perhaps holding the line depending on where we end up over the next few hours, about an hour and a half still to go. And that's also when the daily is going to close. If we actually do close the daily below this line, that would not be optimal. But generally speaking, looking at it from this perspective, it really don't look that bad, right? It's just mostly altcoins that really suffered here. To put that into perspective, you can see whoa! So, I mean, that is the biggest number that I might have ever seen, actually. I'm looking at it now thinking 1.7 billion. I mean, this was a crazy record number a few days back, right? The 5th of December, so like 4 or 5 days ago. But this is almost double that. So today we had more liquidations, more people got wrecked. Whoa. $1.5 billion in the last 24 hours, 1.2 billion in the last 12 hours in terms of longs, only 1.1 billion in the last 4 hours. Wow, huh? And the fun fact is, it's mostly others, so it's mostly altcoins. And indeed, if we're taking a look at it, altcoins indeed have been completely getting wrecked. Bitcoin is actually, look at this. So even Bitcoin got wrecked less than Ethereum did. And XRP is also really not that high of the rankings. Doge is way higher. XRP is more akin to Solana's numbers right now, which is really funny. But yeah, when you start taking a look at it, look at what Cardano just did, huh? Look at that crazy flash crash that it's just seen. Well, at least it looks like a massive flash crash. I guess it wasn't. Yeah, it was. I wanted to say it wasn't really, but it kind of was. But this is what you call another leverage flush, just like we saw a few days ago. Back then, though, it didn't really affect alts, only Bitcoin for the most part. And this time around, it definitely also affects altcoins. Proving my point of what I said earlier, though, if you're able to sometimes catch these bottoms, look at this, right? It's back up 10% within like another few. How quick was that? Let's just quickly see. So the moment it flushed right there, if you had some bids on, so you had some price targets in, for example, you wanted to buy Cardano at 91.3 cents, you could have nearly instantly, let's just quickly check this, been up about 14.5% or so within those minutes. Let's just quickly see. Over here, you could go down, let's just quickly check, roughly 13% in 5 minutes, some crazy flash crash, and then be up another 15% over the next 15 minutes, right? That is actually really peculiar. This is what you see panic, or this is what you call panic. This is what you call a leverage flush. And by the way, if you've not done it yet, to put it into perspective here, this is a bit, it's not the one I was meaning to show you. This is the altcoin market cap. So you can see that, matter of fact, this was one of the worst, this is probably the worst move that altcoins have had in the last few years, since perhaps 2021. I'm not so sure, but I'm thinking it might be the case. Right, back then we saw way worse flushes, way worse. But this was very significant. Just quickly zoom in here. So throughout the day, altcoins on paper have gone down roughly 20% in a day. The entirety of the altcoin market moved down 20%. If you'd sold everything yesterday or 2 days ago versus now, you'd be 20% richer because nearly every single altcoin has gone down 20%, if not more. But I'd like to revert back to just quickly go back here to May of 2021, just to show you real quick what I meant. That was also significant back in the time. Then again, right now, the market is way bigger. But anyway, just to show you here, this is one day also, right? So the market at that point moved down 50% of the entire altcoin market in a one day. This is where a lot of my friends got cleared. This is where they lost all their money because of leverage, because of just having too much faith in the crypto bull market. And I mean, they should have been, or they would have been right, because it continued on for a pretty significant while after. But that flush, because it happened so fast, it wrecked a lot of people. Then again, people who are really vigilant, I don't know how you say it, like attentive, and they bought the bottom, could have been up 72%, right? This is up 73% on the altcoins in just one day. So if you had bought that dip and you were not panicking out completely, but you were just on your computer or whatever, paying attention, buying the freaking dip when things were looking at its worst, because right now things are looking really, really bad, right, on the short term, you could have had one of the craziest opportunities. And that's always what I like to revert back to when we talk about these crazy flash crashes. You can from one hand see like, oh, my coins are going down, panic, should I sell everything? But the more important thing is, what is the opportunity here? If you did not sell when things are at the top, hey, completely cool. You can always still sell now for 20% less, but you're still up a ton from like last month, right? If we're looking back exactly 1 month ago, and just look at it till now, you're still up about 50% on average on your altcoins. So even though you could have been up slightly more, from last month, you could have been up maybe 70% instead of maybe like 50% where your profit is right now. It's still very, very good if that is, that you're panicking. But generally speaking, looking back at the previous cycles, this is the point where you buy. Let's just quickly see here. How much did it go down back then in one day? Oh, this is 2 days. In 2 days here, it also went down roughly 25%. So this is actually one of the more significant moves indeed. But there's a very good chance over the next few days, we'll have made a pretty significant return of some sorts. I'm not sure what the numbers are in terms of the probability of a rebound the exact next day, because I think there have been some instances where you saw a crazy red candle with another one follow. Like, for example, this top here in April, you see one red candle, which was pretty significant. Down roughly 14%, with another one followed that was even worse, right? About 27% or so. So that was really a bad couple of days. Another one slightly worse, minus 18%. So throughout that period, in the few days, it went down roughly 25, perhaps even 27%. Then again, if you had bought one of these dips, you could have been up, let's just quickly see here, 25% as well in just a very short amount of time right there. Or if you'd bought the dip, completely over the next 3 weeks, you could have been up 100% on your altcoins by just, again, believing that even though it's going to dip, even though it looks bad, if you just keep buying lower, you'll be fine. If you'd bought into this crazy dip candle in May, right? Let's see here. It's actually 49% down in one day. And you bought the dip, you held for a few days, 65% up. So whoever sees this as panic, I think should change their mind to opportunity. Yes, it might be annoying. Yes, you might think you're doomed, whatever. But generally speaking, if you look at any one of these dips for the altcoin market, right? If you'd bought any dip, just look at any one of them. It only took a few days to get back out of that hole. And we're talking about a massive crash throughout the day. I'm not talking just about buying in a bear market. I'm talking about, let's say here, September. We went down how much? 30% in a day or so. You bought that dip like a maniac, you see, the next few days, how much would you be up? 35%. So again, you might have lost some money on this dip, sure, but if you're bidding heavily as the prices went down, significantly, I would say at 25% plus, you could be very, very much up. And I'm not saying you would have caught the perfect bottom. You could have been buying slightly before that, but look at this, right? Here it took 3 weeks or so to recover 44% from the bottom. Here you might say, oh, Dusty, but it was a very long journey down. If I bought like the bottom, it bottomed even more, but that's in total 32%. If you were able to buy mostly on the bottom end, that's 37% up. Here, again, it was a freaking couple of weeks of just destruction. 30% down in a few weeks. A few days, 26% up. Right here, you can see it's mostly an uptrend. Let's say here, you were unlucky. You never really caught a crazy upside. So you went going down, down, down. 50% down. Wow. Right? And there wasn't really any major opportunity. 21% up. But this is all the bear market. This is like literally the worst positions to buy. And this is the only point where I'm always a little bit afraid of trying to buy the dip and the dip and the dip. Because that was exactly this period from somewhere here, like let's just call it March of 2022 to November of 2022. Here you would have needed some patience. But that's literally, if you look back at it, right? There's a couple of opportunities or I should say a couple of instances where whatever I've told you now, this whole strategy would kind of be awful. And that's this couple of month period right here between, let's just call it July 2019 to January 2020. That period would have been kind of awful. You had one opportunity here in the midst, though, for even selling at a 50% profit. But let's just say generally, if you look at it, if you just buy the dip religiously, you will be rewarded heavily, handsomely. It's just about not losing confidence, not losing faith. And for the most part, if you want to trade, link is down below if you can use it from anywhere in the world. If you're afraid of it now, man, The fact that it's so volatile also means there's so much money to be gained. Yes, some people got scared now, but we saw one of the craziest flushes just now. So I guess see it as some good thing, right? Rest in peace. Would not be the first time a major flush happens right before a major pump, just saying. Insane moves off the lows on so much stuff. Sometimes you got to be lucky having bids, which means you're buying in or being on screens to capitalize. This means that you are watching your screen while everything's going down like crazy, which in this case I was not. And last few days I was also not. Because again, you don't put that many orders in that low. At least I don't, to have open all the time. I do have a couple of orders in place literally everywhere all the time, but not for this many altcoins. It was mostly Bitcoin, and Bitcoin really didn't catch any bids because it didn't go down that much. 813 million liquidated in 1 hour, 1.5 or 1.7 billion actually in a day. Yeah, man, what a crazy day this has been. In December 2020, alts wiped 30% plus before going parabolic. Wait, here, is this real? BlackRock going down this much? No, fake, right? It's Monday actually, so we can't see the numbers just quite yet. It's just either a funny, okay, whatever. Actually, just before the weekend, they were still buying significantly. Look at that week. If you take a look at BlackRock's buys, and you take a look at Michael Saylor's buys, who just concluded that he's been buying Bitcoin at $97,000 for the past week. I'm not sure exactly where it's at, but let's just quickly see if we can find it. There's been a lot of funny posts. Here we go. Michael Saylor just bought $2.1 billion worth of Bitcoin again at an average price of $97.4 thousand. Just remember that. Just remember that this guy buys the freaking top all the way throughout. And again, even though it might get off for a little bit, I think ultimately he'll be up a ton. And the same thing can be said about most of our altcoins, but they're just a bit more volatile. If you keep that in the back of your head, though, I think you're good. Like I've been saying, this whole dump, whatever we call it, this is also where the biggest of opportunities lies. Some people hate it, and I know they do, but ultimately I think it's one of the best things, especially because I told you guys I'm locking in here, meaning I'm actually paying so much attention to these prices, and I'm buying like a real maniac. Maybe don't be like me, because I literally do not care how far down lower we go. I'm buying it like a madman. Eventually my risk tolerance is going to hit a crazy level though, and if we go down for a whole bunch of time, like whatever we saw from May to, let's just say, a few weeks back, I might be in for a harsh ride, but ultimately I know where we're headed. So that makes it all really, really easy to me. But yeah, not the best of days to look at the portfolio, that's for sure. But we got to sometimes remember to zoom out a little bit. On the day-to-day, things get really, really rough. But on the year-to-year, I think we're quite good.